Hi, and welcome back to Roam Away from Home. I'm Taylor, and today we're talking all things Phish Mexico. My husband and I have been traveling for the last 3 years with our 2 dogs across mostly the western United States, Mexico, Costa Rica, and now Europe. Over the last several years, we've attended as many high-demand concerts as we could, including the Eras Tour, Phish Mexico, Phish Dix, Spring Tour for Phish, Dead & Company's final tour, and many other bands along the way. And because we're not only live music fans, we are also full-time travelers, we have a lot of experience for preparing for these events to make them the most fun that they possibly can be. Today is all about Phish Mexico, or more accurately, Phish Riviera Maya. If you have no interest in Phish or going to Mexico, then this video will definitely not apply to you. If you are considering going to Phish Mexico, or it's your first time and you want tips, or even if it's your second and third time and want even more tips, then this is the video for you. So let's get started. So first of all, what is Phish Mexico? Phish Mexico is truly a one-of-a-kind experience. It's located in Cancun, Mexico at Moon Palace Resort. It is an all-inclusive resort with a festival in it. It's one of a series of events that Moon Palace puts on. So Luke Bryan has Crush My Playa. We have Dave Matthews and Tim Reynolds. Dead Ahead in 2024, you see Playing in the Sand before that. Essentially what happens is you pay for a package to stay at the resort and attend multi-day events like Phish Mexico, which is 4 days of music, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Phish Mexico is a luxury experience for Phish fans. We've been to a lot of Phish shows, everything from smaller shows like The Greek to big shows like Phish Dix. And the experience in Phish Mexico is one of a kind, and it comes with a one-of-a-kind price tag as well, which is why we want to help people get the most out of this experience. Moon Palace as a resort is massive. It even has like little resorts within the resort. So the places that you can stay within Moon Palace include the Grand, which is like the highest price tag and highest luxury area that you could stay in, Nazook, Sunrise, the golf course. They also have a couple of off-site options too. Our experience is from Sunrise, and Sunrise is the closest to the actual stage. So we're going to talk about our experience specifically from our point of view in Sunrise. And it applies to most of the rest of Phish Mexico, especially once you get in the festival, you know, we're all on equal playing field. But I will say that the experience at the Grand will be slightly different. The experience offsite will be slightly different as well. But the majority of it is the same, so let's get into it. I'm going to start off with why someone would want to go to Phish Mexico as a Phish fan, because you can often attend Phish shows for under $100 still. You can find a ticket for under $100, whereas packages here are going to cost you minimum of a few $1,000s per person. It's really a different experience because of the all-inclusive resort and because of all the other activities you have in addition to the music. What makes Phish Mexico really special, I think, is that a lot of the same people go every year, and so you kind of start to make friends and stuff like that. You see the same people year after year, similar to Phish Dix in that way, but it's easier to find your friends because it only has about 5,000 to 7,000 people attending the shows every night. So it's way smaller than a typical Phish show. It's also unique in that when you go to a Phish show, everyone there is there to see Phish, right? When you go to Moon Palace and attend this event, there are going to be other people there that aren't actually there for the shows. We didn't realize that. We kind of thought that the Phish fans would book out everything in the resort, but there are families that just happen to be there during Phish. It's not just the concert, it is the entire experience. So for some people, they are there only to see Phish. They're treating it like the concert, like they are there, their whole trip revolves around getting a good spot at the shows, making sure that everything that they do is around Phish. While other people that attend Phish Mexico, they treat it as an all-inclusive vacation with the added benefit of Phish. So as I'm talking through this video, it's important to think of like what your priorities are going to be for this. Is it primarily to have a vacation and then yay Phish, or is it primarily to see Phish and then yay cool, we're at a resort? As I talk about it, just consider in your mind like, oh, what are my priorities? Because that'll really shape what your trip looks like. For us personally, we are there to see Phish. You know, we travel full time, so we are often in Mexico. We've lived in Mexico for the last 4 years during the winters, and so our primary reason of attending this event is Phish. And a lot of what the tips I'm going to give are going to be around the shows and the show experience. Yet there's so much more to do in the resort that we haven't even done at all. So just keep that in mind as I'm sharing these tips. One of the benefits of being a full-time traveler is that we have gone through customs many times. So we know that there's a lot of different fears people have, especially if it's your first time out of the country and your first time in Mexico. I'm gonna start at the beginning, which is arriving in Mexico. Most people arrive in Cancun the same day that they're gonna check in to Moon Palace. Before you leave for Mexico, make sure you do 3 things. 1, download Moon Palace app. 2, update your Playa Luna dashboard. And 3, check with your cell phone service carrier if you are going to have Mexico covered in your plan. The majority of American and Canadian plans do include Mexico, but I highly recommend checking ahead of time, seeing if there's going to be an updated charge, like you might be charged $5 a day or something like that, but check ahead of time so you know if you'll have service when you arrive. You also aren't 100% sure of the service you'll have in the airport, so I highly recommend taking a screenshot of your QR code for your shuttle. That is how you're gonna get to the resort. Once you're at the resort, you get Wi-Fi, so it's no big deal. You don't even really need cell service except for in between the resort and the airport. Your package includes shuttle transportation from the airport to Moon Palace, to the specific resort you need to go to, as long as you've stayed opted in. So what's really important is to access your Playa Luna dashboard. This dashboard is going to track your flight information. It'll note when your flight arrives, and then that is when your shuttle is going to be associated with. So it's really important that you put that information in your dashboard. The deadline was extended to February 5th, so you should still be able to update it by the time this video goes live. Also, a week or 2 in advance, they give you a booklet. You should get it to your email. It's a PDF booklet with lots of tips, details, maps, like everything you need to know about your trip. So if you're feeling like you don't have enough information now, that's okay. You're going to get a lot more information right before the trip. And part of this is because, people can still buy packages, people are selling their packages, all this stuff. They need to finalize everything on their end first before giving it to you. If you wanted to be like extra careful, you're worried your phone is gonna die on the flight, whatever, you can also print out that booklet that they'll send you, the PDF booklet, and you can print out your QR codes. We actually did that last year just because we were traveling from Western Mexico to Eastern Mexico. It was a very complicated trip. And so we printed everything out just in case our phones were dead. We had service in Mexico because we lived there, but we just didn't want to take any chances. And it was kind of nice to have that to thumb through as we were doing our stay. So you're gonna arrive in Mexico, super excited, maybe had a couple drinks on the plane, maybe not, but you're gonna get into Mexico and you'll go through customs. It's not a big deal. It's not some big scary thing. Do not be worried if they pull your bag and check it. It is common for them to randomly check bags. It really depends on your flight. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. I would say out of all of our travels, the majority of times our bags are not checked. They don't usually check your person. They don't normally pat you down or anything like that. They just check your bag, make sure you don't have anything you're not supposed to bring, and then you could be on your way. A lot of this is actually for agriculture, not necessarily for other things. Do not stress if they pull your bag, just let them search it and then they'll give it right back to you. It's no big deal. After you get your bag searched, you finish going through customs, you're going to walk through the airport and people will be asking you as you're exiting the airport if you need a ride or anything like that. You do not need to engage. You could just say no gracias. You could just keep on walking. You are going to look for a line of coaches, these big buses that will take you to the resort. The drivers and the people there checking you in, they're gonna have signs that say Phish Riviera Maya on it. Basically look for Phish fans. I feel like we're really easy to spot, right? You can tell I'm a Phish fan right now just by looking at what I'm wearing. You'll be able to find your people. Just look for them and then follow kind of that Phish fan crowd. You'll probably see people on your flight going to the event too. Follow them towards the shuttles and you'll see people having the sign. I think it's a nice tip to come in, like land the plane with some water or something you can drink because you might be thirsty. So you can bring one of these, fill it up at the airport before you leave. When you arrive in Mexico, you'll have water. I say this because you can buy sodas. There's like a bar there. You can buy stuff there. But if you want to just get on the shuttle as fast as possible and head to the resort, it's nice to have some sort of drink. Our shuttle driver was actually selling beer on the bus. And so a lot of us just bought like a $5 beer, expensive beer, but it was worth it. Bought a beer, we all celebrated, all cheersed each other, started exchanging stickers at that moment. It was a really fun bus ride. You'll start to even meet people that are headed to the show on your bus, so it's kind of a fun experience to be shuttled with all your fellow Phish fans to the resort. The shuttle driver will drop you off where you need to go, so also know where you're staying. Know if you're staying in Sunrise Nizu, the Grand. Remember your resort name and they'll drop you off. One question we get a lot is, do you need to speak Spanish? The answer is absolutely no. This is an all-inclusive resort that is geared towards English-speaking tourists. So they all speak English, or someone speaks English and can help you. We do speak Spanish, and so we speak Spanish to the people that work there because we primarily speak Spanish and Portuguese now in our daily lives. But if you don't know Spanish, it is okay. You do not need to stress. You will find your way. All right, so once you get to take your shuttle, you're gonna take your shuttle. They're gonna take you to check-in. The check-in process is an experience in and of itself. It's basically you go into what feels like a big conference room. Last year they had some snacks. They also had drinks like on ready for you. So once you walk into the resort, you're going to be offered drinks. Remember, everything's included, so you can have drinks while you wait in line to check in. Depending on when your flight arrives is really going to dictate what your check-in process is. There are some times where it's like multiple flights are arriving at the same time, so it's a ton of people checking in at the same time. Usually those will be the flights that are kind of later in the day on Wednesday or Tuesday. Not everyone is checking in on the same day. Some packages are 4 days, some are 7. Some people actually extend their stay and stay there for 2 weeks. How long you have to wait, whether or not your room is going to be ready, that all completely depends on when you're arriving. One tip I have is that you bring a small bag with you. I bring this mesh bag with me on every single beach trip that I ever have been on. And in this bag, I would put my swimsuit, sunscreen, a change of clothes, for me, a toothbrush, so that I have these things with me, because if your room's not ready, you can check your baggage, they can hold it for you, and then you can go out and explore the resort. But you're probably going to be in your airport clothes, so it's really nice to have something like this just to change into really quickly. Whatever you need to refresh, maybe even a battery pack for your phone if you want to bring it out, even a Ziploc bag or some waterproof thing for your phone if you're going to head to the pool. But I recommend bringing something small like this. Another thing is, if your room's not ready, you can ask them your specific room. You can say, oh, is another room type available that I could check in now? We actually did that, and we ended up having a great room in Sunrise. It just, instead of a king, it was 2 queens, which didn't bother us at all. I am going to talk about our favorite things to bring to Phish Mexico later in this video, so stay tuned or skip to that chapter if you're looking for a packing list guide. Your package will also dictate what your vibe is like right when you arrive. So if you're arriving a little bit earlier, there's not going to be all the Phish fans there yet. People arrive as late as Wednesday, and sometimes flights are delayed and they actually don't even arrive till Thursday, depending on weather. So not everyone's gonna be there right when you arrive. It's really, really fun to explore the resort. Once you get your room ready and you know what your room is, memorize your building. All the buildings look the same, and I swear it's kind of hard. Each building has a unique symbol and a name like associated with that symbol. And so look at your symbol, take a picture of it on your phone, really pay attention, memorize your symbol for your building so you can know where to go and where to actually access your room. Once you get into your room, you have your stuff. I really recommend unpacking, checking everything out, making sure everything works in the room just in case there's something really weird about it and you would need to have maintenance come up soon. Not many people experience that, but just in case. And I actually recommend on the day that you check in, especially if it's not right before a show, explore your resort a little. Like, get familiar with the amenities at your resort. So if you're staying in Sunrise, go to the Sunrise pool, check it out, look at the different food options. If you're hungry when you arrive, go immediately to go get food. There's always something open to eat. But I do recommend exploring your room, getting familiar with it. There's going to be a jacuzzi tub in every room, a balcony in every room, and they're really nice and really comfortable. Check to make sure your shower works, those kinds of things, and then go explore the area around your room that's walking distance. I think it's the best way to kind of get acclimated, get excited, get some drinks in you if you drink, all of the things. If you're arriving on Wednesday and you're nervous about missing the show, don't be. The show starts at 9 and doors open, I believe, at 7. So you're not going to have to be too stressed if your flight is slightly delayed. You're likely going to still catch the Wednesday show. There are many people that arrive right up into the point of the show. They check in and then they run to the shows and go have a great time. So don't be too panicked if you have slight delays in your flight. Even if you miss some of the show, they'll still be playing. The resorts are still going to be really high energy. Wednesday is really fun because everyone's just so excited to be there. Everyone's so excited. The show is fun. You get acclimated. It's kind of like everything. You're learning where everything is. Go to the shows every night. They're super fun. I recommend seeing them. So explore the resort a little, explore your room, and then go head over to the shows. If you're coming earlier on Tuesday or a couple days earlier before the show, then you'll really already be familiar with your surroundings. It'll be really fun. You'll be able to navigate pretty quickly. It's an awesome time. At Moon Palace, if you're staying at any of the resorts, you have access to the entire resort. You don't have to stay in Sunrise if you're in Sunrise. The only exception is the Grand, that is exclusive to the Grand people. The party starts on Wednesday, but everyone's there by Thursday. So by Thursday, the entire day is full of events for Phish fans. You have pool parties during the day. You have the after parties up in the Zook pool last year. They might change it this year, but I think it's going to be the same. You have all these fun activities you can do with Phish fans. You also have a ton of activities you can do outside of the Phish universe. So for example, you can play mini golf, you can play real golf, you can do excursions. There are so many things to do, and really recommend taking advantage of everything that is available. There are also unofficial events that aren't hosted through Moon Palace. So there are the sticker exchange events, there are meetups for photo opportunities of Phish subgroups. To find these unofficial events, I recommend joining all the Facebook pages. That's where the information is shared. I recommend being in these Facebook pages. At the resort, you'll hear updates of different things going on. So if you stay in those groups and you stay active in those groups, you'll really hear the latest of Phish news at the resort. Of course, you don't have to do any event. You can also just sit at the pool, enjoy your drinks, and have a great time. Let's talk about excursions. Excursions are great, especially if you are going to Phish Mexico and you want to experience other things in Mexico, like Chichen Itza or snorkeling, any of those things, then an excursion is going to be really awesome. Keep in mind how long your excursions are. If your priority is a Phish show and you're a rail rider and you want to get really close, then you're going to want to do shorter excursions, or excursions that at least will get you back to the resort around 2 p.m. Chichen Itza is probably not going to be one of those. So that's a longer excursion, as well as a snorkeling. I use those two because they are the most popular. We had friends last time who did snorkeling all day, and then they showed up to the resort. They showed up to the show completely sunburned and exhausted. They still made it through the whole show, so they were troopers. But I will say that if you are going to do an excursion and the Phish shows are your priority, try to keep them a little bit earlier in the day. Choose a morning excursion, choose ones that are a little bit shorter. There's so much to do at the resort that you absolutely don't need an excursion. That is something that if you want to have it and it's important to you as your vacation, go all in. You can book them through your dashboard, you can book them through the resort, you can also book them outside of the resort. The easiest way is just through your dashboard if you just want to keep it super simple, but there's tons of stuff to do in the area. Tulum is close by. Everything does take a little bit of time to get to and from, but there are plenty of really fun excursions out there. Next up on my list is food. Food is one of the best things about an all-inclusive resort. You can have food all the time. There's always a food option. Not every place is open all the time, but you can always find food. So for example, there are restaurants, like within Sunrise, there's restaurants in Zook, there's specialty restaurants in the Grand that you probably wouldn't have access to unless you are staying at the Grand. And overall, you will never go hungry, all right? Ever. Snack bar food, there's always something. If you want to have a sit-down restaurant experience, not a buffet style, not the snack bars, not a cafe, like a sit-down experience, then you might want to book a reservation in advance. Personally, we went just the two of us last time. We had some friends show up too, but we just went the two of us. So we had no issues getting into any of the sit-down restaurants. We even went to the Mexican restaurant by the golf course that everyone says to get reservations for, and we were able to walk in and get a spot. So it depends on your group size and it depends on when you want to eat. If you're wanting to have a brunch at this Mexican restaurant on the golf course, everyone loves it, then maybe make a reservation, especially if you have a group of people. And if you want to eat at a certain time. I recommend looking at the food options and deciding for yourself which styles of food you want to try. Other than that, like, you can wake up and decide what you want to eat at that moment. The beauty of all inclusivity is that you can just literally do whatever you want, whenever you want at the resort. Like I said, not every restaurant is open at every single time of the day. So one of the important things to check in your app is to see when restaurant times are and make sure that you give yourself enough time to get to that restaurant, because let's say you're going to a restaurant in Zook, but you're staying in Sunrise. You know, it takes a few minutes to walk to and from, or to hail a golf cart cab to and from to get to that other restaurant. And just make sure, because there were a couple times last year where we showed up to the restaurant and they only were open for 5 more minutes, so we had to go to another one. Room service is included. You can order room service directly through your app. A couple times for breakfast, we ordered room service the night before for breakfast. It's also a great wake-up call to have someone knock on your door and give you breakfast. So I recommend doing that. If you're going to be out late at night, it's a really nice way to wake up. But I think a lot of people go into the resort, like what I hear, a lot of chatter on Facebook groups, a lot of questions that we got submitted to us on socials. People are a little bit stressed about not having access to certain foods. And I promise you, in my opinion, the best food is in the venue. And I'm going to talk about the venue and everything, but you can be fully satisfied from eating food in the venue every single night for dinners. So you don't really need to stress so much about food. Like a lot of people, they want to make all these reservations and they want to go here and here and here. And I totally get it, but you don't need to worry that you'll be unfed. You will always be fed. Next up on our list is drinks. So drinks, a lot of people recommend bringing your own insulated tumbler. This is not insulated, but it is pretty cool. So they bring their Yeti, their Stanley, whatever. We don't live in the US, and so ice for us has long been forgotten. We don't have access to ice as easily as people in the US do. If you're someone who loves a cold drink, like you like your drinks really cold, you like a lot of ice, I actually do recommend bringing your own tumbler. You usually will get gifted a Nalgene from Phish, so you'll have a container like this where you can fill it up with water. But if you have an insulated tumbler, because of the humidity there and the heat, ice melts really fast, so having one of those is nice. They also typically serve your drinks in small cups, so a tumbler gives you the opportunity to have a lot more liquid and ice in your cup. That stays cool. That being said, they're kind of heavy and bulky, so it's up to you if you want to pack one. Your mini bar is included in your room as well. What made a big difference last time for us is we would actually have beer delivered to our room to restock our mini bar. We did not do room cleanings every day. We're just not the people who get their room turned over every single day. But we did make sure that our mini bar was constantly stocked with beer. So if you want cold beer in your room at all times, order it before you run out, because they will run out of certain things. They won't have access, or you won't get it in time, certain things delivered to your room, or they'll substitute it. So if you want beer when you're running low, just call them and have them bring up more beer for your mini bar. That way also it can be put in the fridge, so you always have cold beer. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Easy to say, hard to implement. If you haven't been in an all-inclusive environment before, it can feel like you need to get your money's worth by drinking, and you will always have access to alcohol. Even in the venue, you have plenty of access to drinks. A lot of people say the drinks are super watered down. I did not find that I was struggling to have alcohol. I wasn't like, wow, I wish I could have more access to alcohol. That was not really a thing that I struggled with. But some people have a higher tolerance than I do. What you can do is always ask for a floater on top of your drink. Remember, it's all inclusive. You can ask for anything that you want when it comes to drinks. If you don't drink alcohol, make sure to ask if drinks are non-alcoholic and request non-alcoholic drinks. This goes for both when you're just around the resort and when you are in the venue, because they often have pre-made drinks that include alcohol. I've also heard from people who are non-alcoholic drinkers, they request to have the pitchers rinsed out after they were made with an alcoholic drink, because they can still taste the alcohol on like a pina colada or a daiquiri after they've made a frozen one for someone else with alcohol. The pool bars are the busiest bars, and that is also why people bring tumblers, so they can fill it up to the top and not have to go to the pool bars as often. On my packing list is how to keep your drink afloat in the pool. I'll get into that later. All right, next, the last final part about the resorts. Getting around the resorts, it is huge. Like I've been saying, it's a huge property. You can walk if you want to. I'm confident that the majority of Phish people have walked many miles just to get to the shows from the parking lots in their experiences. You've walked lots before, so in your mind it's like, yeah, I've walked really far. I don't need any help getting around. The golf carts will save your feet. Last year, I actually permanently damaged my foot from walking too much on barefoot across everything. I got severe plantar fasciitis, so I'm telling you this as a warning that take the golf cart cabs getting between long distances. If there's an empty seat in a golf cart cab, you can just hop in. They'll just say, hey, can I hop in? Just wave them down, hop in. They also have designated places where the golf carts pick you up. So they will have a map and it'll have a sign, like a little golf cart. You know where they're gonna come. You can wait kind of like a bus stop. You just wait there, they'll come pick you up, and it'll tell you where their routes are. There are maps throughout the property that show you where the golf cart routes are so you can hop in on one. I highly recommend taking the golf cart cabs to and from long distances to save your feet for the shows. The shows are in the sand, so you might be standing barefoot in them, but either way, like, you will be standing for a long time. It's still a Phish show. So absolutely save your feet when you can and take the golf cart cabs. Moving on to the show experience. I broke this up in chapters so that it would be easier for you to navigate. You can choose which chapter you want to listen to first. Watch part 2 next for the complete show experience and what it's like in the venue, or head over to part 3 for packing tips. We will be showing some of Phish Mexico on our YouTube too in the future, so subscribe if you want to actually see it. It has just been one of the most fun Phish experiences. We can't wait to see you guys there, and if you do see us, come say hi. We'll have stickers. I'm gonna have colorful hair, so I stand out a little bit. Come say hi, come see us, and we hope you have the best time. We know you'll have the best time because now you have all the tips. Subscribe for more and drop any questions in the comments. Happy to answer them. Bye!